later people think that there's an energy flow out of the eye. The hypnotist, as a matter of fact, he was pretty well in advance of the fellow who really knew his hypnotism. He is so convinced that there's an energy flow out of his eye that he always has the pre-clear or the subject or whatever you happen to be operating with looking at that eye. As long as you can keep a person's attention units pinwheeling and interpolating to this degree, boy, can he be controlled. Hypnotism is an example of this. The hypnotist works on nothing but confusion. He will show a small boy that if you stand between a door and put your hands solidly to the sides of the door and press real hard for a while, that's the first maneuver to being hypnotized, and then he has the small boy step out from the door and he says, your hands will now rise. And of course the residual muscular tension which the child has built up will cause his hands to float up in the air willy-nilly. And he says, what is this happening to me? He immediately says, I'm no longer in control of myself. He gets completely confused, and the hypnotist then can implant into this completely unresisted suggestions. He can say, you are now a dog, you are now this, that, and the boy will bark. Now you can get this up to a point where you can mesmerize another human being, and then, although he is blindfolded, and you are no longer in contact with him, you can pinch yourself and see a red welt appear upon his body, and he will jump and say, ouch. And when you get up the tone scale a little bit and feel a little bit ornery about it, you can actually put a dog into a complete funk. Just hold him by the collar and stare at him. And he'll eventually begin to shiver and shake, and he goes all to pieces. That's because he doesn't have enough theta body worth mentioning. He's just sort of a mess body. You can erase parts of your body with a tension unit running just as though you were erasing a facsimile. What is your body but a facsimile that's really there on the line? That's matter. All right. Now, for instance, little gag on the line. A few days ago, I down here, all this court thing and so forth, it upset this program. But a few days ago, I suddenly decided I would look young at the summer session. Well, how do you look young? All you do is take off flesh off certain planes of the face and put the planes of the face in. So I just selectively ran incident until the planes of the face were smaller. You can actually select off pieces of flesh and trim down certain bones and change your appearance without any trouble at all. I started to run this crease here between my eyes and got interrupted in the process. But I started to run this as a wrinkle and so forth and found out that it was getting my head chopped in half one time or another, and so I stopped running it. But I didn't feel like running the rest of the incident. So your pre-clear's lying on the couch, and you know that this and that is wrong with him, you figure, and how do you gain that? I've tried to straighten out a long series of pre-clears, by the way, by auditing this life only, and I've gotten tremendous relief. I've gotten them up the tone scale, I've gotten them way above normal, but I haven't made them sane. They have manifested eidetic memory. They've done all sorts of weird and terrible things and so forth, but compared to how high a person can go, it isn't worth doing. Play all around all you want to with this life. It just isn't worth it. All right, now here's this fellow who is a squadron leader with some invader force, and they keep jumping onto these planets and swamping them up and having a good time with the babes. And they just keep this up, and I have a lot of fun. It doesn't occur to any of them for a long, long time that they're even vaguely like these other beings, that they have anything in common with these beings. After all, they're invader force. Look at their shiny holsters. And look at those beautiful helmets and those sleek ships. And look at those people. They live in wiki-ups and grass huts and along river banks, and they have powwows in weird temples along the marshes and worship snakes and so forth. And you walk in, and boy, are they stupid. You walk in and you say, the great god Ka will now spit at you and knock your head off. The priest tells you this. Well, you better stay back from all this. And you say, I have more power than your great god Ka. I can stand here 50 feet away from your great God Ka and strike from him his head. And the priest says, oh, yeah? So you just pull out your gun and you go bow, and the snake's head disappears, and the priest says, Allah, at last we greet you. And you say, well, now, let's get down to business here, bud. Where are the Vestal Virgins? This scene, by the way, might sound to you to be comedy or space opera, but I'm afraid it's been enacted more times than any of us could count.
In Florida, where you've got friends, we'll help you transcend if you give us those ends. Party at the Church of Scientology. Don't call it a cult, you just don't understand. Write us a check and take our hand.